You like the thing?
Antonio.
Aye. It's just depending on. Yeah, you start with this.
Right? If someone at this time of year, with elections coming, is doing something like this, and then at the same time you're courting Africans to support you, what kind of madness is this? If you distress, you disrespect my foreparents, whose blood, whose heads were lined all around here from Kwamina to Newmarket, because that's the extent of the parade ground. And if you disrespect all of that, then you're disrespecting me. So how can someone tell me in their mind, sound thinking mind, that they are going with these people or they're doing this? It means that you're disrespecting yourself. And there's no concern, no remorse. It's just like, we don't care what you say, we don't care what you do. We're going to put it up. And this was going on since the 14th of July. So they've had enough time to make a decision.
Alright, Sister Penda, my question to you, I believe that given that this project is continuing, legal action may be the recourse.
We see no other alternative, if that is what they want.
Alright, again, media, other members here, the members of the ACDA, if I want to say it, we have the mayor, others, Ghana Day. I see we have here former Prime Minister and former mayor of the city of Georgetown, Mr. Hamilton Green, who is
So I use it as your Steve.
come around here. Councillor Saul, who has been a strong advocate and has been calling me an umpteen times to treat with this matter. We're here today for a specific reason. As represented by Ms. Pinder just shortly to the media, this particular challenge here is one where the 1823 Demerara Revolt Memorial Site is being desecrated.
Yes.
It's being desecrated by some kind of a stand or bleacher, or as well as here they can have washroom facility nearby. We can have another bleacher here as well. And this kind of a scenario is not welcoming by the Mayor and City Council of Georgetown. Only last week or 2 weeks ago or thereabout at our statutory we made representation about this matter, and we asked that we make contact with the Minister of Culture, Youth and Sport. I made contact with him by sending him a text. I made contact with him by sending him a copy of the article from Newsroom, or News Source, so to speak, outlining the challenges the persons from the Ghana Day as well as ACDA and other African denominations are having with this particular site and how it's being desecrated. I haven't had any response from them. We've spoken to our engineers to treat with this matter and to halt the work, because it can't be done in this fashion. It can't be done even without a governor. It's not like if we will approve anything concerning this. We feel that the violation by the ministry to even grant a job, a construction job or a project to persons to deal with this here without any input from us, who has responsibility for this ground, is a total slap in the face, as Ms. Pinders is saying. This is the election moment. This is the election time. This is the time where the government we know has always been taking abuse and taking advantage of situations. It's not like if this government is in the first 5 years of their time. They're in the last 5 years or the last months, they're a government that is a lame duck government that doesn't have any teeth in its bite, but is still operating like if they are some majority. We all know in this election period what will happen and what will come out of these elections, and people are obviously fed up. with this aggression. People are fed up with the interference. People are fed up with the micromanagement of how this government has been operating. They're doing things like they have some two-third majority. Here they're claiming they can get two-third. I don't know which two-third. Was it the one-third of the two-third? All right, so these are the kind of things we have. These are the kind of challenges we have, and we want to stop that. And I guess even at these elections that are coming, the people will vote. The people will put their position out. The people will state and vote to not have these kind of situations, not having lack of consultation, not having lack of other people's involvement, not having the Ghana Day group and the other groups and the other many other dispensation in Ghana for lack of consultation. And we need to stop this. What you're hearing out today in relation to this fancy looking bleacher that you have here but that has no consultation, I think the camera could turn to it to see what is going on here exactly. The workers have just gone on lunch. We'll try and have an opportunity to have a chat with them, for them to give their position as to who engaged them. But we found out from our engineers department that the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport is the one who granted this contract without any involvement from the council, without any involvement from the African brothers and sisters, without any involvement from no one, but they choose to do this. So we're here today to stake our claim, to speak about this issue, to speak about this abuse, and to let it be known that we are not happy with this. And that I believe Comrade Hamilton Green will speak on this matter as it relates to the background of the parade ground and so on and so forth. I believe Deputy will also speak on this so that we could get our perspective out here, and so that whenever this live or whatever this goes on the news, they will get the impression of what is happening here, and that they should put a stop to this project that is going on here, so that we could then determine maybe the rightful place as to where it should go. But it should have had, or it should have happened with consultation. It should have happened with some kind of collaboration, and that didn't happen. So we will take a stance. The only other thing, if they don't act on this, I may be tempted to drive one of the council's excavator in this place and knock down this thing. I may be tempted to do that. I've been telling my brothers and sisters here that is something I want to do, but I'm thinking it out. But at the same time, I may be tempted to even rent a high marker or something else and break down this thing, because this thing ain't working. This thing ain't right. If they could abuse or take advantage of a situation and do things unilaterally without any consultation, I might take a unilateral decision as the mayor to be able to do that and to effect the necessary changes and the necessary consequences that may have to be taken. Outside of that, I heard Ms. Spinders talking about the option of courts or going to the High Court. That's something that will take some time, but this thing I think needs affirmative action, and I may have to do that as mayor of the city of Georgetown. I believe I have here former mayor of the city of Georgetown, a former Prime Minister, Mr. Hamilton Green, who would like to say his bit on this matter.
Thank you. Comrades, this abomination must be put in its correct perspective. On the 1st of August 2000, when I was mayor of Georgetown, an event was held here in the presence of Gail Teixeira, Dr. Rose, and Baron Templeton and others. In solemn tones, coins were laid at the southwestern end of this ground, with a promise from all those present to have a monument erected to honor and to give regard to an event which shaped Guyana we know today. That event took place on the 18th of August, 1823. When the slaves decided enough was enough and they struck out for man's innate God-given right to be free. Thanks to the importunings of some of the house slaves, and every sentence I utter has a relevance to today's Guyana. They were rounded up, their heads cut off, and put on poles, the blood bleeding on this ground. And as the descendant of those slaves, we have a duty to preserve it as sacred ground to honor our ancestors. Everywhere else in the world, the British, the Americans, the Chinese, the Indians honor their ancestors and pay regard to their exploits and the sacrifices made. Every time I come here, I see that blood of those African slaves pleading with us for justice. Every time I come on this ground, I remember those slaves who were plucked from West Africa with the connivance of some of their elders. They jumped overboard when they realized that they will no longer be free. Their bones are rattling at the bottom of the Atlantic, asking us to stand up for their sacrifices. Their sacrifices molded Guyana. Had it not been for their sacrifices, there will be no Chinese, Portuguese, or Indians here. When I look at this ground, I remember a few years ago, the Gladstones came here to offer an apology to the descendants of the slaves. When you go past the western end of Merriman's Mall, how many of the young people know that the Gladstones, using the large sums given to them by the British government, purchased 2 ships, and that brought the first batch of Indian immigrants to this country to replace slave labor. I say that to certify the point I made, that the event of 1823 made Guyana what it is today. And I call upon all Guyanese, irrespective of their race, color, or creed, but in particular, those who are descendants of those brave Africans, the Edgills, the Tudds, and others, to stand up. If they don't, their ancestors will curse them. You can't support a government that is so disrespectful and has shown such disdain for the history of this country. I therefore ask the media, many of you who will be unaware of the history of this country, when the Gladstones bought those ships, it was money given by the British government. When the emancipators fought the British government, they had no choice but to agree to compensate the slave owners substantial sums, almost 40% of Britain's budget at that time, to compensate them for the loss of their property, human property, the slaves. Not 1 cent not a single pound was allocated to compensate the children of those slaves whose energy, whose tears, whose labor civilized the entire coastal belt of this country, planting sugar and cotton. It is the duty, therefore, of those of us who are assembled here to defend that sacrifice. Because if we don't, we'll be cursed. And I hope that this matter is not seen as a trivial event that should be just put aside. You have a government respectful of my ancestors. You recall that when this ground was remarked as being sacred, the PPP attempted, had it not been for some of us, to rent this ground to Bison Link to park the trucks. What disregard, disrespect, and disdain is that for the people whose labor caused all the other immigrants to come to this country and labor on the sugar and cotton plantations. We therefore assembled. I'm glad Sister Pinda first drew this matter to my attention. We assembled here promise that with the same strength of the slave, we resist this absurdity for whatever it may cost. I stand before you as one who took part in the struggle for independence. And at 90.5 years, if I have to shed my blood as my ancestors did, I will do so because my children will honor me and respect me for that sacrifice. I hope, therefore, that when Barra Jack do laid those coins on this ground, it is a demonstration of his understanding of the significance of his ground, or what he did. They're going to build the monument, should be built here, somewhere where people can't see it. And any administration that shows such disgrace, such disdain for the Africans who worked for centuries on the sugar estate for nothing, is not worthy of our support. I don't want to talk politics. But in a few days' time, we have to make a decision whether we continue this absurdity, this vulgarity of people who know better. I hope that our ancestors are listening, that the Creator is with us, whether you believe in Islam, Christianity, or Hinduism. Somebody created this world. But this is an unjust act. And I call upon President Ali to not only apologize, but put an end to this desecration of sacred land and talk to those who represent the African organizations. Because I want to repeat, without their sacrifice, nothing else could have happened. The African slave, without bulldozers, without equipment, with their bare hands, dug those canals, the dams and the roads that created, as one writer said, fabulous fortunes for the Europeans. In his book, The Overthrow of Colonial Slavery, Robin Blackburn made the point that it was a labor and sacrifice that created fabulous fortunes for the Europeans. And tears come to my eyes. I remember my great-great-great-grandmother with her hands digging a hole to deliver her babies. Those babies survived because they were strong. They were resilient. And today, I call upon all of us to mirror that strength, that resilience, to put an end to this vulgarity. I spoke with a young man a few minutes ago. He did not even know who I was. I understand, he's only 20 years old. So if you have any questions to ask, between the deputy mayor, the mayor, assistant, and myself, you'll be free and anxious to answer the questions so that you turn away not as reporters, but as patriots to play your part for emancipation. What is distressing about this? This is Emancipation Month. And I said to some overseas journalists a few days ago, emancipation was a legal and constitutional event. The challenge today among the Afro, the Indo, the Chinese, the Portuguese, Guyanese is for liberation. The higher level that we, the young people, must strive for. But you can't reach that level of civilization, of freedom, that level of liberation, unless you have the facts. So again, with humility, if you wish to ask any questions.
Deputy, you have anything you'd like to contribute?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, my elder. It's tradition as African, Afrocentric worshiper, we ask permission of the elder to speak. That's something you must know, and that's one of traditions coming on from our ancestors. I want to refer to our last statutory where I did represent what we saw going up here after we recognized that something was being constructed on this sacred ground of ours. Our mayor here did give a commitment, and I do trust his word. He went ahead and he do what was necessary to find out what was happening on the ground and why it was happening, because nobody at statutory, nobody within the Mayor City Council was aware of anything being constructed on this ground. However, we continue to monitor the system and we notice the construction is going on. Myself, Councillor Saul and myself came here day before yesterday and we saw the post going up and we inquired again. But as you can see, we are dealing with an administration who doesn't have any regards for anybody, because if a government don't believe in inclusiveness and consultation, it needs a government of disrespect. The minister, as it be, and there's no minister because I know we're in recession for the elections, decided upon himself to build without consultation of African groups. We are part of this society, as you would have heard from the elder Mr. Hamilton Green. We are part, we were the forerunners. This is our sacred ground, and all a government who worked its salt and who is meant well will consult with us to know what ought to be done. You're always blamed of not being, you don't want development, but it's not that nobody wants development, it's that you do development in tandem with the Mayor City Council who controls the city.
And that hasn't been happening for the longest while. Now you're here as an Afrocentric warrior. I am peeved, I am hurt, and I feel disrespected of an African descent, because my type of worship is that we come to this ground, this sacred ground, we sit down on the ground and we make communication with our ancestors. That is how we worship. And that privilege is not going to be granted to me if I have something like that monstrosity standing up there and that concrete there. And I can say to you without fear of contradiction, in other states, I just came from Virginia, where they dig up the ground in Virginia, they remove all the asphalt so that we can get the ground. This is not an issue for Guyana. Nowhere in the world you trouble sacred grounds where the ancestors are resting, because we must be able to contact and to communicate. You are now violating our way of worship. I can say this government is going against our way of worship. And I'm passionate, I am angry, and I am hurt. I know my mayor would know that many times I say my statement is don't trouble the ground. The ground is sacred, where my bones and their blood and their labor is here. And so I want that to be clear. I want the government to hear that we who worship on the Afrocentric ways need to have the water with and the grounds remain sacred, so that we, based on the constitution of this country, freedom of worship. I cannot come here and pour libation on that. We had an agreement for here, the National Trust is here, and we understand the sacredness of this monument, but we don't want anything more. It is clear we do not want anything on the ground. Nothing must be here. We must be able to come, throw us cloth, sit down, and to meditate, because that is how we do it. I trust that this message will reach the ears of Mr. Ali and Mr. Ramson and all the others who assume that they have the power to do what they like in this country. But we will not tolerate it. As my elders say, if it takes shedding my blood, as my ancestors did, we will go down that road. This ground must be left alone. And that is my final say.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy.
Okay. I don't have anything else really that I want to say, but I just want to re-emphasize the point is that this ground will be left alone, and we will take whatever action is necessary to remove that there. And I want Minister Ramson to understand that. This property belongs to the city, and we will defend it. And we will take action. Whatever action is necessary to remove that. And I want that message to go out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sister Pinda?
Yeah.
Sister Pinda, she spoke already.
No, before the mayor. Mr. Mayor, from my understanding and the little knowledge I have of the city, parade ground is directly controlled
Under the responsibility of the
by the city. So now, you are the mayor of a city that controls the ground, yet someone else comes onto that ground and violates your authority. Secondly, as the mayor of the city, any structure within the city should pass through the council. So how do you respond to that
Well, like
situation?
I said, we learned of this situation. My elder, Mr. Green, would have been in touch with me. Deputy Mayor and others have been in touch with me on this particular matter. And we've been trying to, suss out, if I want to use the word, who was really doing this work. So we tasked our engineer to find out who was doing it. He referred it to the assistant engineer, Mr. Kelman, to confirm who was being doing it. Within the last week or two, I was able to figure out there was a contracted person by the Ministry of Culture who was dealing with this job. I asked the engineer to treat with it and to go and send a cease work order on this matter. They dilly-dally around it because, like I said, many of these engineers or these persons that are working with us, somehow they're afraid of central government. But they're working with me, paid by us, employed by us, but are afraid of the higher hand or this bigger hand, whoever it may be. So they have not acted on it because many of these persons who are working with us are also compromised. Compromised by even having certain arrangements, dealing with the central government in certain ways, even some of them moonlighting and getting jobs while they're working on the city council payroll. And so with that kind of compromising position, they can't do their work that is apolitical without professionally and to exercise the under the law what they're supposed to do by writing and putting that in place. So I now had to do that because they can't function or they don't want to operate. I had to be able to write to the minister, send also an article that they had on News Source, I think, reminding him of the challenge, reminding him of the nature of the ground, reminding him of the specific nature of what it happens here from a African standpoint, and so on and so forth. So I've outlined all the different things that speaks to why you should not be doing certain things. Again, I haven't had any particular answer from those persons. So it keep on boiling up, and so to the point where we raised this matter the last week statutory and put systems in place to cause the engineer to do their work, but again, they're playing games. So we had no choice but to do what we're doing here today, to come out in a manner of a press statement and to have this matter go live so that we could address these concerns and address it in a live way, in a sensitive way, in an emotional way, and in a way that we feel the African brothers and sisters are being disrespected. So that is why we're here today. And I also would like to allude to the fact that the National Trust of Guyana, outside of our comrade here, Mr. Green, speaking about a number of other things, either getting to the president or getting to Barra Jagdeo, this is a National Trust monument and a site. And they themselves, I want to put them on notice that this is what's going on here without even their consultation, without their knowledge. But again, like everything else, all these different organizations and bodies are usurped on the central government. I don't know what's really going on in this country, but it appears that these people are only operating in a fashion from a unilateral and a dictatorial standpoint and trying to impose themselves on people and impose themselves on every facet of life. And I have a serious problem with that. I have a serious problem with that and concern as mayor. And I have a serious problem in them inveigling themselves, intervening in everything and not allowing due process to happen. Had they made contact with us, had they made contact with the Guyana Day people, had they made contact with the AGDA, had they made contact with the National Trust, they would have been properly advised. The minister, in this case, the Minister Ramsey, would be properly advised as to what is possible and what is required, what could be required. But no, they acted again without advice, and that's why we're here today to deal with this issue and to place our objection. And I want to remind the viewers here, the media as well, that while as mayor, I operate through a council, but like I said, I may have to take matters in my own hands to deal with this issue and deal with it a little differently.
Mr. Mayor,
just to confirm, you said you did send them the ministry actually a cease and desist letter. Is that to
no,
the
I
ministry directly?
I can't send a decent. I made contact with the minister by WhatsApp.
Okay.
Sending him a message on this issue, and I also sent him the news source article speaking of the objection that the African brothers and sisters have as it relates to this ground.
Okay, understand. But as relates to you mentioned something about the contractors as well. Did you approach them as well?
Yes, I approached the contractors. The engineer approached the contractors, and we asked them to start. And that's how we found out, because there was a period when they cast some things here, and when you cast, you left it for a few days. So when they left it for a few days, nobody was actually coming. Then we keep on checking on the location. Then they came now to do the other aspect of the job, and that's how we found out that they are doing this job for the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport.
And did they say which contractor service?
I don't have that particular.
I cannot recall. I spoke with the contractor. I think it was day before yesterday, but I cannot recall the name of the company.
Our engineers, they didn't want to provide the name. They just say they're working directly with the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport.
Now, Mr. Mayor, isn't it strange that if a private dweller in the city wanted to build, he did such an absurdity, started to build, your departments of construction or city engineers would have broken it down.
I agree with you.
Let us break this down. Why don't you think that?
I agree with you, and I said to you, if my engineers and the people working in the administration are compromised and complicit and feel that we as a council don't have
They're
the kind of
complicit
teeth in our bite, and they pander to central government who they feel has maybe a little bit more authority than us, they act on that. I mean, there's so much I could do, there's so much of push and pull that we could deal with, but we're caught between a rock and a hard place. I'm hopeful that these elections come the 1st of September changes that position so that we have a new government that respects these kind of a situation.
The city bylaws.
See, respect the bylaws, respect religion, respect organizations like this that have these religious obligations and so on and so forth, and respect the way people go about their life, and so that we can have more consultation. So I'm hopeful that what is going to be on the ballot, I'm talking some politics, what is going to be on the ballot this 1st of September is things like this, and many things that governments seem to do without anybody being able to treat with them. They have too much a latitude with some one-seat majority, and we hope that that changes from a standpoint of having a new government in place, or at worst, we have a minority government, so that we could be able to have that consultation and collaboration in this country, so that we could get the kind of betterment. We have a better parliament and a better place, so that persons could complain to somebody, so that we could be able to get the kind of results that we need in this country.
Mr. Mentor, can you confirm if Mr. Ramson responded to your concerns?
No, I sent it to him. He didn't respond. And I sent a hard copy as well of my objection to him. I didn't get any response, but I sent a text because I have his direct number. So I sent it to him along with the article, but I didn't get any
Could you
response.
confirm if the messages were read?
I'll check my phone just now.
Oh, okay.
May I say something? Let me just add to what the mayor has said. From the 14th, when we saw what was going on, we immediately wrote letters. We sent the letters out, as I explained to you. It went to the minister via his personal assistant. I sent it to his personal secretary. And then 2 days later, we hand-delivered a written copy to him, to the director. So they all have. And we stuck one to the office of the president and gave it to the president of this nation. And I want to say that to date, we have had no response whatsoever. All right? None. The mayor indicated to me that he got his. He's the only person that responded. Nobody else has responded. Yesterday, when we saw this on Tuesday, we again wrote reminding the president that we had sent him a previous correspondence. And then we reached out also to the vice president, Mr. Jack Dio, telling them what is going on. So we're waiting, but no one has granted us that dignity, that respect to even respond to what we are telling them.
You know, Mayor, if I may, as far as I am aware, this ground is vested to the city. It's the city property. And I see nothing that will prevent us from taking that down. And I want to send that message to Minister Ramson and this government that we have.
Fine. Let's quickly.
Good morning, everyone. Look at the emblem on my...
Please don't look at the color.
No, if you look at the color and everything, this is freedom. Look on this. You see the name? This is a struggle that's been going on for a long time. But this is what's happening now. What's happening now is a whole program of provocation. You might not understand it. The first is a very important operation. These people don't want it to occur. What's happening here is a hope that we the people, the city will do what the city has to do. It's hoping that we the people will come in our strength and remove that. Then they'll use that against us and say, you know what, there's some revolt, etc., etc. They're working on a plan, 1947 plan they're working on. What is it? It was a demarcation of India. They're working to split up Guyana. Right now, you don't even understand it. And I'll say no more. The point is, I'll write a paper. And I hope you will publish it, because when I write a paper, you don't publish it. I want to write, I'll give you for tomorrow morning and to lay down everything, because Ranson got to be a rogue. Because how can he decide to do something at this particular time when his party would like peace and he's not working for peace? Something is wrong, something is wrong, something is wrong. I'll write a paper, you have it tomorrow, and let's work on that.
Well, again, I guess that we would have elaborated on all that came out of this particular situation. I must thank you, the media, for making the time. You want to say something else? I think I asked the questions already. Yeah.
No,
right.
Questions are finished.
I thank you again for coming out on short notice. I know that it's one of those things that from time to time we need to do, and I appreciate you guys making the time and placing the emphasis on this particular issue. I hope you give us the kind of publication necessary in your various media houses so that we could get some action on this issue, so that the government themselves could take notice of what we're doing here, so that they could put systems in place. If not, these matters have consequences. I thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
You don't want to join your president?
Pardon me?
You don't want to join your president?
No, that's not my president.
These freaking people we are living, when you look at what is going on,